Hey guys, John from Album Review TV. Time for something a little bit different that I usually do on this channel. Iron Man 3, Heroes Fall, the music inspired by the motion picture. There's a lot of great artists on this thing, and I think the general consensus for this was, when getting the music ready for the album, hey, let's get together some of the huge names in rock, indie, and alternative music, and put them all together on this soundtrack collection. And I have to say that they did a great job rounding up these artists. They got a lot of good ones here. Imagine Dragons, Capital Cities, Red Light King. They got a little bit of everything for you here on this record. Overall, I would say the majority of the album is alternative, although there are a lot of indie and more electronic influences found on this record, like a Purity Ring sound-alike. That would be Mr. Little Jeans. Walk the Moon rocks out heavier than expected. 303 throws back to some old styles, and really just overall there's a lot of good music on here that does relate to the film. Now, do all of these songs come off sounding like, hey, this definitely relates to and pertains to the movie Iron Man? No, not all of them are immediately going to catch your ear lyrically as being like, oh, yeah, this is definitely something that relates to the film. But there are all, influences that can definitely be seen, and you listen to them and they're like, yeah, okay, this reminds me of this scene in the movie. It's just quite the collection of songs. Obviously, they're not meant to flow together or anything like that, and they're kind of all over the place. Some will be a little bit heavier, others, will just be kind of distant and electronic. But overall, I like the sound and direction that they picked for this album. It's kind of unified, I would say, by one thing, and that's by making good music. I wanted to go ahead and talk about some of the songs on the record, so let's start with Big Bad Wolf by Walk the Moon. This song was a lot heavier than I expected. I really like it overall though. The lyrics on this one do relate to the film a lot more than some of the tracks on this album. I like the vocal range shown here on this track in particular. It's quite impressive. The glossy synths show up and the guitars follow. It really kicks in throughout the song, flows quite nicely, as well as the bass. It's just kind of heavy and pounding at times. Sounds really good. Let's Go All the Way by the Wonder Girls, featuring a couple of surprise guests, is actually really entertaining to listen to. They're a super group with so many popular names from back in the day. I can't even list them all, but the guy from Sugar Ray's involved, Shannon Lowe from 30 Seconds to Mars. There's just a big super group, and they had been inactive for at least 10 years, and they reunited to re-record this old song of theirs. The guitars are a little bit repetitive in this track, but the more it's played, the more I like it as a constant in the song. It's got this nice dark overtone to it, but at the same time it's still, not too dark that it's just kind of driving away some of the casual listeners. I'm not sure if this is the track that plays during the credits of the movie, but I think it should be. Bad Guy by 303. Love it. Perfect. Old school 303 right here. Longtime fans of the band, definitely check this track out. I think you'll enjoy it. It reminds me more of the style of Want, honestly, their 2008 album. It throws back to that old rapping style, really dark and electronic, and it doesn't sound like, that poppy electronic that they've taken on with like their new album Omens that's coming up, or even Streets of Gold. It definitely throws back a little bit further. I think this would have fit in between their album Want and Streets of Gold. The gunshots are a nice effect, and I really like that they can still make a good solid song like this. The lyrics are easily relatable to this film, and obviously by the title track Bad Guy. If you've seen the trailer for Iron Man, then you know that this song relates. Keep Moving by Andrew Stockdale, formerly of Wolfmother, is definitely one of the most rocking tracks on this record. They've always been compared to older rock bands like Led Zeppelin and that sort of thing. And I don't like to do that to bands. I don't like, especially that far back, I don't like to compare them necessarily to old bands like that. I think Wolfmother has always had their distinct sound, and Andrew Stockdale is continuing that. He had a lot of trouble keeping band members in Wolfmother, so I guess he just finally decided to go solo. It's a good rock tune, kind of in one ear, out the other. For me, it's enjoyable, but it's nothing too creative or inspiring, anything like that. It's a good solid tune on this soundtrack. Some Kind of Joke is one of my overall favorites. I'm a big AWOL Nation fan, and this is just what you would expect from them. Heavy synths layered in with well-played guitar and bass, you've got a hit on your hands. It's catchy, a little bit dark, and thoroughly enjoyable throughout the 5-minute run. I really like how it goes out on that heavy instrumental break. It reminds me a lot of their live show. 1 minute more is definitely not what I was expecting from Capital Cities. I was expecting something a little bit poppier and, brighter, but I really like what we actually got here with this track. It still has those jumpy synths kind of in the background and some electronic sounds that are flying around, but overall the keys are what drive this track home. Lyrically solid and a catchy listen. Ready, Aim, Fire has the intro that you would expect from Imagine Dragons. It really focuses mainly on the vocals, but then those synths really crash in and you're like, wow, this is definitely the direction that I can see Imagine Dragons going in the future due to the huge success of Radioactive, and that focused a lot more on like some electronic sounds more so than like guitar or bass or anything like that. While all of these things are still found on this new track, Ready, Aim, Fire, overall, I wouldn't say it's one of their best, but it's definitely enjoyable and something that you would expect from these guys. It's bass heavy, got a catchy chorus, and I think this song would fit well playing in the battle scene in Iron Man. Back to the start. Wait, you're telling me this isn't Purity Ring? Mr. Little Jeans here, you sound very similar to Purity Ring. Just the whole production style, the drum machines, the dark and loopy synth, the whispered vocals. Everything screams Purity Ring to me, but it's not. It's still overall a solid tune, but I just wanted to point out the fact that they sounded very similar to the duo from Canada, Purity Ring. Some Kind of Monster is exactly what you would expect from Neon Trees. It's a little bit poppy, a little bit darker, catchy, and the same goes for American Blood by Passion Pit. It's a little bit longer of a song than I would have expected from the band, but still, it doesn't stray too far from like past releases, and if you like Gossamer, then you'll probably enjoy this track, American Blood. Redemption by Red Light King and No Time by Rogue Wave, a band I had previously never heard of. I had heard of Red Light King, but I had never heard of Rogue Wave. Two enjoyable rock tracks, especially the Red Light King one. Overall, this is a nice collection of songs. They've got a lot of good and upcoming artists on this, and some that have already established themselves, so it's really nice to hear this collection of tracks. I'm not usually too impressed by collections like this, but Marvel has always done a good job in getting their music together. Overall, this is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. I like many of the songs on this record. A lot of them, while lyrically not, obviously the most creative or exploratory things in the world, they are solid, and relating to this film, I enjoyed it. What did you guys think? What artists did you like most that were featured on this soundtrack? Heroes Fall. So let me know in the comments section down below. There's going to be a lot of reviews on the way. Vampire Weekend, Escape the Fate, so many more in the coming weeks. June especially is going to be a huge month, so make sure you subscribe, check out my other videos, and always go to albumreviewtv.com for more.